Hey everybody, what we're doing now, because we got some weather, so we're going to go ahead and take care of this. You saw the video where we shot the engine compartment. We've got that all back taped now, and we're going to shoot the main carcass of the car. Went over it, made sure any little nicks or anything like that, we've got everything I could see. What we're going to do is wipe it down now with a wax and grease remover. You want to do it with one rag wet and one dry. Clean it off after you've wet it down. We're going to start at the bottom of this side of the car, work our way over and come down the top. Then I'm going to mix up some sealer and put the sealer on it and put the red on it. It's kind of the point of no return. Once you get started doing this, you're committed to do it. So let's clean it up and we'll go from there. The reason why I've got gloves on is because any oils on your skin or anything are going to affect this paint job negatively. So you want to make sure that there's no oils, no grease. See that? That's just, if you can see, that's just from a little bit. So after we get done with the wax and grease, we'll go over it with a tack rag. And I'll show you that. A tack rag is basically a rag that's got, oh God, I don't know what it is, stickiness on it. And it takes any dust that you have on the car off. If you get dust in your sealer and it's an excessive amount, stop. You've done something wrong. And wait another day. Start over. I'm not super concerned about, if you look at this area right here, because we've got the quarter panel extensions that go on there. The back of the car is going to be matte black around the taillights, so I'm not super concerned about that. But all of your trunk jam, all the glass jams, the main parts of the body, all of that, you want to make sure that you've got absolutely as clean as possible before you start. Because the smallest piece of dust is going to affect the paint job. It really doesn't matter. It can be an extremely small piece. And each successive coat that you put over it, whether it be sealer, paint, clear, if you got a little speck of dust, now you put sealer over it. Now you put paint over it. Now you put clear over it. Now you put another coat of clear over it. It's going to leave a speck in the paint job, and you're going to do your best to sand it out, clean it, do whatever you got to do, and you're going to cut right through to the sealer. So you definitely don't want to do that, because on a red car, a speck of dust in the sealer, when you sand it through, you're going to see that gray speck. So we don't want to do that. Saw you guys looking at my ass. Knock it off. This is serious. And this is also where, after we've turned this car over 1,000 times, we're going to turn it over one too many, it's going to fall off the rotisserie. That's not cool either.
Don't say that.
I know.
don't need that kind of negativity in the world.
This is also a good point to say that as you're wiping this down, you're going to be able to see if you've got any pinholes or anything like that. You've got to make an executive decision at that point if you're going to keep going or if you're going to stop and repair that. Can you bury it in the paint? Can you hide it? They're all questions that come after you've been doing this for a while. Short answer is no, you can't. You're going to see it. If it's got any kind of imperfections in it, they're going to show. And I'm not saying, you know, we're going to pull a Chit Foose paint job off out of this car, but we're going to do awful good for Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and definitely good for what this costs, which, regardless, is not cheap. Painting on the rotisserie is a huge, huge bonus for an old guy like me, where we can turn the car up and I can get rockers, things like that. I don't have to bend down. A lot of you also asked about the carpet in the paint booth. I mentioned this in yesterday's video. This is something that we just started doing. A lot of guys are doing it. It really goes a long way to keeping the dust down compared to using water. Plus, we're not putting all that nasty water in the $20,000 paint booth, or having to deal with it when it comes outside the door or what have you. Okay, now I'm going to mix up some sealer because I want it to sit in the cup for a few minutes before we actually spray it on the car. It gives it a chance to activate because it's 3-part sealer, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. So it's basically like an epoxy. You want the 2 pieces to start having a chemical reaction. So we'll do that. All right. So like I told you yesterday, we're using Deltron, which is PPG, the DAS 3025 sealer. They have 3023, which is white, and 3027, which is a dark gray. This is a light gray. Works great for this red that I'm using. Just make sure that this is mixed up really good. Now, we had it on the shaker yesterday and I used it, so it's still really good. It doesn't settle overnight. Just stir it up. And then what you're going to do, this cup does not have a 3:1 gradation on it. Gradient, whatever. Numbers. So what you want to do is some quick math. We're going to do, it's 3:1, so I'll do 6 to 8 to 10. And that'll give us our 3:1 mix ratio that we want on the sealer. Now yesterday when I did the engine compartment, I mixed up 2 setups of it. That way if I ran out, I didn't know how far it was going to go, so on and so forth. We only used 1. So I just threw away a whole cup of sealer. Plan on waste. You're going to waste some material. If you want to be a chemist and figure it out down to the ounce and whatever, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm not going to do it. I don't have that kind of time. So and I put this plastic lid here off a tote. That way if you get any spills or anything like that, it doesn't go on the floor, which, you know, sometimes we do smart stuff. Sometimes not so much. So we want to pour this in to 6. There's our 6 right there. And even if you're going to use it again, just lay your lid over it when you're going to paint, because any kind of particles in the atmosphere or what have you that land in there are going to have an effect on it. We've got our hardener right here, which is a DCX 3030. You just use 1 part of this Well, 2 parts in this case. Pour that to an 8. And then on sealers, and mostly sealers only, I'll use the name brand, top of the line reducers. Your paint reducers, this is just as good as a TranStar or whatever. TranStar is just as good as this. With me, it's just a mental thing, so I use this. And you pour that to 10. Now the reducers are temperature sensitive. You have DT860, DT870, DT880, all dependent on the temperature, your ambient temperature in the building, outside, and plan ahead. If you start painting a car in the afternoon and it drops off drastically as soon as it gets dark, you want this reducer to be the reducer for that cold temperature, not the particular temperature that you're spraying in. But if you have a temperate climate where it stays even, just pick your reducer according to your temperature and you'll be fine. The slower it is, the longer it takes everything to set up. Okay, so it can flow out. The reason why my clear come out nice on the engine compartment, it was a little bit chilly out, and I used an extreme low temperature reducer, so it stayed wet and stayed activating and stayed flowing. Double-edged sword, because you can really screw up and get it to run, like I said yesterday, onto the floor. I don't care about paint sticks. I don't care about Bondo spreaders. To me, they're all expendables. Go ahead, get rid of them, get some new ones, whatever. This 3M spray gun system. I use this on just primers and sealers. This tip, yes, you can wash them out and reuse them for, I don't know, probably 5-6 times that you use the spray gun. They're cheap. I buy them by the box. I throw them away. One little speck of dust is going to drop you like a bad habit in the middle of a paint job. And again, I'm saying this may not come out perfect. So, when I give you all these warnings about dirt and dust and things like that, I may get some. I don't know. We're going to see. But I'm also careful enough to know when to stop. Instead of spraying $1,000 worth of materials or $2,000 worth of materials on the car, I know to stop. Okay, if I put base coat on this car and I see debris in the paint, which I don't care, your preparation, whatever you want to do, there may be debris in the paint. It just happens. But I'll stop. If it's just in base coat, okay, I'll stop. And tomorrow I'll come in with a cup of water and wet sand here and there, clean the car up and start over again. And at that point you're good. You don't have to put sealer on over again, because the base coat, you got probably 24 to 48 hours before you got to put anything on it. But the sealer is non-sanding. It's a wet-on-wet system where you spray the sealer on, give it a little bit of flash time, and then go on and put your paint on it. This PPS system, I like this. It's not inexpensive to use it, but you don't have to have a primer gun laying around. The cleanup time, I didn't even clean it yesterday, okay? Just take it out because there's nothing inside the gun. It's all in that tip where the magic takes place. So let me get a top for that. It's got a lock ring that goes on there. Make sure it's on straight or you're going to wear it. Ask me how I know. So there's that. We'll let that sit for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and tack that car off, and then we'll go. I do not wear gloves when I'm painting. 2 reasons. One, I don't touch the car. So I don't have to worry about that. 2 is sweat will build up in there, okay? And if it should happen to drip out of that glove and on the paint job, stop. And then the tack rag, see how sticky it is, see what I mean? And basically, what you want to do is spread them folds apart. I just on the tack rag. God, you people. What do you mean, you people? You can't say anything anymore. Everybody gets offended about something. But I'll open it all the way up. And you're going to laugh after you see what I do after I open it all the way up. There you go. Basically, you get it all the way opened up. It's sticky. Get it all the way opened up, and then I go like this. And the key to one of these tack rags is you don't want to press down on it, because the stickum that's on here, if you press too hard, is going to transfer onto the body of the car, and it's going to give you an issue when you go to paint it. Open it up a few times, fold it around, ball it up. Always try and keep a relatively clean edge with it. And I'll go on the roof. I'll start a little further than halfway and just give it a wipe. Overlap it a little bit. Give it another one. Overlap it. You want to overlap 30-40%, just so any edge that you happen to get is going to clean it out. And yes, Sarah, I'm trying to go one direction only. So do your main areas and then come back and get here. You want to be careful of the studs for the chrome, because they're going to grab this and rip off a little thread or something. You're not going to find it till you put color on the car. Or you could just go down to Tractor Supply for $11 and get yourself some Rust-Oleum and paint it that way.
With a brush.
With a brush. Yeah. You could do that.
I need to get the torch.
Yeah. Okay, now we want to stop. We're hoping for a really, really nice paint job that is very easy to sand out any kind of debris that we get in it. It's like my dad used to say, crap or corruption. If we get any crap or corruption in the paint, we want to be able to clean it out easy enough. Now, I cleaned the gun yesterday that I'm going to use for the base and the clear. I use the same gun for base and clear. But that's something you want to pay particular attention to cleaning. A lot of times when you're done painting a car, last thing you really want to deal with is cleaning the gun. But that's probably one of the most important things, because, again, you get halfway through a paint job and you haven't really done a good job cleaning your gun. The solvents in the new paint are going to reactivate whatever paint you have left in that gun. Pretty good chance it's going to be a different color, then your gun's gonna spit. Once that gun spits, stop. You need to clean that gun. You put your finger over the top and blow it through backwards. I know a lot of you old school guys do that. I did it. But it's not going to clean the gun. It's just going to take that whatever chunk of stuff you got in there and blow it back into your mix of paint. Eventually it's going to get sucked up again and block the tip. So see, it's Sunday, and I'm down here. This is the 8th day of my 7-day week, and it's Sunday, so my phone's dinging because people want some Jim. You know what I'm saying? I want some Jim. Well, Jim's painting right now, so if that was you that just messaged me, this is now tomorrow when you're watching this video, so I've already apologized to you, but I'm here doing what I gotta do. Right? Right? That's right. Even Matt knows. Don't be in a hurry. None of this. You really don't want to be in a hurry on any of this entire process, whether it be cleaning, painting, sealing, whatever. Take your time, buy the right materials, pay attention, read your MSDS sheets, get your mix ratios correct. Flash time's extremely important, that when you put something on, your flash time is going to vary, again, dependent on temperature outside, temperature of the reducer that you use. You need your first time, if you want to be successful doing this, your first time, and a lot of times after that, you need to pay attention. After a while, you can start to cocktail some of these chemicals together because you know what works and what doesn't work. I've been doing this long enough. I know it doesn't work because what doesn't work has happened a lot more often than what does work. So once you find something that does work, you want to stick with it. I've gotten upset in the past because all of a sudden a clear that I really like to use is no longer available. Now I have to learn how to use a new clear, which, do it on a panel, dude. Don't try it on somebody's car. The other thing, I'm old school. I'm from way back when we used siphon feed guns to paint cars, okay? The state that I lived in imposed a fine if the EPA walked into your body shop and you had any siphon feed guns. It was like $1,000 for every gun. So not only could you not have them, but if you did happen to have one in your shop, it had to be completely disassembled with no evidence of use. So I had to learn how to use HVLP guns, which, as it turns out, are better. There's several different things you can do if you want to save time cleaning. PPG makes bags that go in the gun. DeVilbiss makes bags that goes in their guns. I'm old school. It's, you know what, you might save 10 minutes of cleaning the gun by using the bag. It's whatever, just clean the gun. That's what you got to do. So we're going to cut out of here for a minute, and it's all tacked off. The sealer's activating in there. We're going to put it in the gun, set our gun up, and we're going to blow coat sealer on this car and then go have a beer. all the preparation that you see us doing to get ready to paint a car, that's a coat of sealer. What was that, even 5 minutes? 9 minutes to put a coat of sealer on it. Take roughly that for each coat of paint. So, you know, you got to figure, you know, we're going to put a coat of paint on it, let it sit. We got to let this sit right now. It has some graininess in it when you first spray it. That your reducer will start to work with that. Once those reducers gas out of it, that's smooth out like silk. When I was a kid, that's how I drove the car, right there. Slap the craters on it and roll. And then I learned how to paint. And I learned how to paint because the automotive gods came out with computers, and computers are stupid. So very little that you see us doing here will have anything to do with computers. Maybe daily drivers, that's it, because, you know, daily driving a hot rod, a nice restored hot rod, is not a thing. That's probably not something you want to do unless you live in Hawaii, or not even there because it rains all the time. So what does that other channel say? While we wait, we hydrate. Okay, so we're going to get ready to go in and start putting base coat on the car. This is the gun I use. Okay, it's a Vilbus starting line gun, dirt cheap. Not compared to Harbor Freight, but it's cheap in the world of spray guns. Buying an $800 spray gun is not going to make you a better painter, and the truth of the matter is, it's really not going to spray any better than what you have here. You got to start out with it clean. Like I said yesterday, it's got to be clean. Tip, everything. This is, I think, a 1.4, which I use for base and clear. You can go up to like a 1.8 or even a 1.9 for primer if you want to put it on pretty heavy. But this atomizes nice if you have the gun set correctly. One of the other real important things about a gun is you've got to train your body to stay straight when you're painting. There are times that I don't, but that's what that particular contour called for. But this gun has to be perpendicular to what you're spraying. If you spray it like this, that fan is going to be heavier on this edge. If you're spraying a metallic color, that's how you get stripes. If you're too close to the surface, if you're too far from the surface, it's going to spray dry. You want to keep that gun as close to perpendicular as possible to your paint surface. 8 to 10 inches or so away generally works best. You don't necessarily have to worry about what it looks like when it first goes on. Once the solvents begin to evaporate out of the gun, that paint's going to lay out nice and smooth for you. You're going to learn, if you continue to do this, or if you do it more than one time, you're going to learn what it looks like previous to what it's going to look like before you go in there and put clear on it. So we'll let that flash just a couple more minutes. I just wanted to show you quick the gun. Got to be clean inside and out. Clean. That's the biggest thing. I just use lacquer thinner. That's all you got to use. Lacquer thinner, and you can go to whether it be Hobo Freight or O'Reilly's or any one of those. Get yourself some acid brushes. Acid brushes work real good. And of course, there's a gun cleaning kit that has a bunch of horsehair, little toothbrushes and things like that. But clean your gun up with lacquer thinner. Make sure there's no lacquer thinner in it when you go to put any of your paint materials in, because they're not compatible. That's why it works to clean it. That's it. is always make sure the top's on. Ask me how I know. So we've got a gun full of Scandinavian virgin blood that we're gonna spray on this car, and I got another one mixed up, and we'll put that on it too. But stay tuned. Okay, so there's one coat of base. Again, it's like I told you yesterday, you want to make sure you get coverage just like with the sealer. And I can't say enough about using sealer on it. It just made that, normally red, you've got to go over it a whole bunch of times just to get coverage on the car. Looks pretty good. I did notice a couple little things in it, but we'll be able to take care of them in the clear. But all in all, I'm real happy with how this car came out. We're going to get another coat of red on it, and I don't know if you can see in it, you'll see little pock marks and things like that. They're going to come out as the solvent gases out. This is your only chance. If you've got any dust, you've got to let this car flash good enough so it's hand slick. You can go over it again at this point with a tack rag, which is a real good idea. And then your subsequent coat of red that you put on it, you can go over it with a tack rag again. You're done with a tack rag at that point. You can't tack rag the sealer because the sealer is wet. Okay, so you're going to mess that up if you hit it with a tack rag. This will dry. As soon as it dulls out, it's pretty much hand slick. And go over it with a tack rag, another coat of red, then we got 2 coats of clear to do. But all in all, I'm pretty happy. My blood pressure comes down with each subsequent coat that we put on the car, whether it be seal, primer, I could care less about, sealer, paint, clear. My blood pressure begins to come down with each coat. And then the last coat, that's when you get to look at it and go, okay, I got a little bit of work to do here and a little bit of work to do there. But I'm going to show you once this car is painted, your work is not done. Not if you want a good quality paint job. We could put another coat of paint on this, clear it, slam some wheels to it and send it down the road and collect our money, which is what a lot of body shops do. Our work is kind of just beginning on this car. So we're going to be able to show you guys what it looks like to wet sand it, and then what it looks like to go through how we buff it, the pads we use, the chemicals we use. It's not an easy thing. There's a lot to it, and people don't realize, why can't you paint my car for $600? Well, because I can't. It's just not, unless I just wanted to be, a good Samaritan body guy painting cars for people and losing money on every one of them. But this car is going to look pretty slick. I think Mike's going to be real happy with this. I know June is, his wife. But again, we got to get out of here, turn the fan on, give this 20 minutes or so to tack up. Then I can go over it with a tack cloth, another coat of red, which will go pretty quick, just like that did. What was it, 7-8 minutes to put a coat of paint on it? That's it. There's only one other product I know that costs as much that you can use as quickly, and we're not going to talk about that. I think you all know what it is. But that's it. There's your red Mustang. For all intents and purposes, we are that close to being done. Not going to jinx myself, knock on powder coated sheet metal. But that's it. And you see how quickly the booth exhausts? That's the benefit of you've got to have a good airflow when you paint a car. Not only so you don't die, but so the airflow is what draws the solvents out of the paint, and the paint hardens on the car, and you go from there. But always wear a mask because it will kill you. And somebody said to me last night, "So will cigarettes." I'm like, yeah, but not as quick. Cigarettes won't kill you as quickly as this will. This has isocyanates in it. It's bad to even let it get on your skin, but I've been doing it so long that it's like, whatever. I still eat red meat and have cocktails now and again, and sometimes maybe even get in the car. But no, I don't do that. But there's your red 68 Mustang, Mike and June. There's your first coat of red. We'll be back in a few minutes, put some more red and then some clear on it, and I hope you're happy. So there you have it, 2 coats of red. I mixed up too much red. Again, it's better to have too much than not enough. Cool thing about non-catalyzed base coat, DBC, or this shop line, is you can pour this right back in the can. Okay, you have to remember that you've diluted it a little bit, so you need to take that into account when you go to mix. But we've still got a little bit left in there, so it's what we're putting back in isn't really diluted that much. So now we got to let this dry probably a little bit longer, because I may have jumped the gun on putting a second coat on, which is fine. We've just got to let it dry a little bit longer, and then clear it. Could actually come and clear it tomorrow. Ain't gonna hurt nothing. I might do that. You can get away with that on base coat. You've got up to 24 hours. So I would need to come in here first thing tomorrow morning, put clear on it, and then just let the fan run. That way, what's the temperature going to be tomorrow?
That's what I was looking up. Alright, so tomorrow morning, 43, but it'll heat up pretty quick.
Okay. And plus, I'll have the heat on in the shop here at 65 degrees, so it draws the heat out of the shop into the booth, so that'll be good. And then by the time I put our second coat on, we'll be good to go. So, but there you have it. There's your red 1968 Mustang. I really can't wait to get all the paper and plastic off of this car and start assembling. Everything we've got for it is either brand new or restored brand new. Motor, transmission, all front end components are brand new. We're putting an 8.8 Explorer in it with new leaf springs. It's going to be good. Of course, you know the bottom's already been done in Rhino liner, so this is going to be a slick car. I think he's really going to be happy with it. So that's what we got for you today. Maybe have Joe put it together and show you guys what it looks like done without clear, and then tomorrow we'll do a video with putting the clear on it. But you can't, there's a window that you can wait and do this. Like I said, we've got 24 hours, maybe a little bit more, to put clear on it. It's Friday night, I'm good. I had to go an hour and a half from here this morning and look at a car, and it's Sunday. So yeah. We'll let the fan run for a little bit after we get out of here. It's good to have a good booth. Like I said, you see it exhausts it really quick. I can take my mask off as soon as I'm done painting. I've had booths before that just had a cloud, and you'll get solvent pops in your clear. You'll get all kinds of issues from bad airflow. So it's important that you allow that fan to run while this is flashing off. Otherwise, it doesn't work correctly. So that's it. I'm going to clean my gun.